Here's how Moza could dominate sim racing. We're going to go through and let you know the pros and the cons of the Moza equipment, and most importantly, what we want to see Moza do. Now, we've been doing this with a lot of sim racing companies. With Moza, it's interesting because there is no other sim racing company that has as much variety as we have on the table here with Moza. We've got a shifter here, we've got the load cell CRP, Moza FSR with a screen, Moza TSW truck steering wheel, the brand new Moza VGS with the gyro display on it, the entry-level Moza CS, and the Moza KS sort of GT3 futuristic rim. Sam, you're a professional karter, so all about the performance. What do you like on the table here, and what do we want to see more of?
What don't I like on this
By the way,
table?
all these products, I think, were provided by Moza as review units. Very important that you know that.
What don't I like on this table? There's not a lot. I like it all. For an entry level, this definitely has the looks of entry level to me, but it's nice to see that it has the same quick release as every other one on here.
I think the FSR one is a very slightly modified one because of the diameter, but it's essentially the same quick release and it's the same family and you get the same quality.
They all work on the same things.
Yeah.
I love the Moza stuff. I really do. It looks great. It looks like it's the real stuff. It's this type of stuff you can imagine you'd be driving in a real car. All of it looks good. Every single one. Even this, for the entry level, just looks tidy.
You know the funny thing? You say it looks like the real thing. This entry level one, it's got this sort of brushed aluminium. It doesn't feel, that bit doesn't feel plasticky. These are obviously plastic buttons. Yeah. That's a big contrast to other entry level wheels. This one is plasticky because it's a truck steering wheel and that is what you would expect. Yeah. So that's the realistic vibe they've gone for. So yeah, it's interesting that they have that mentality where, you know, they want it to feel good even at the entry level.
Exactly.
I don't really know how they're able to do this for the price. I think it's about £120. So it comes in cheaper than the equivalent fanatec ones, I believe, like the P1s, with much better shifters.
You can actually hear these ones.
Yeah, a lot of buttons as well. I think I would prefer a different button convention. There's something about here, like the bottom. I would just prefer it slightly different.
But you're not short on buttons, are you?
You're definitely not short on buttons.
Definitely not short on buttons. The only thing I'd change on this one for me personally, I would personally change probably the size of the rim. I think it's a bit too small.
But we know that you can actually modify that fairly easily because we've taken it apart. Do you want to turn it around? There's only 2 screws, isn't it?
There's 3 screws. There's one here, one down here, and one over here, and then that literally releases it.
The bigger one, get the GT rim.
You can. So this, even though it is a cheap one, you can still mod it and make it essentially, like as I said, a bigger wheel.
And if you want a bigger wheel, I've got to talk about, I just love the fact that they've, Moza is like, this is Moza racing. It's like racing, it's sim racing, but someone in the company has come up with this idea and someone's greenlit it. And then we really like using this wheel in situations you're not meant to use it, like drifting and everything. It's just great to have a massive wheel. I'm not aware of any other sim racing company that has a bigger wheel.
I mean, if you look, there's obviously that very, very popular game, the truck simulator, Euro Truck Simulator. And I imagine they've sold a fortune of them.
Yeah. So if you're, by the way, if you're looking to purchase, there's an affiliate link in the description of this video. It might give you a discount as well, but go check it out because possible for discounts there. But yeah, I really like using this wheel. I've scratched it. It feels like a proper truck steering wheel. I've always got it on the rig. It does come with an adapter as well that puts it sideways up. Okay, so let's move on to stuff that maybe we don't like, that we want Moza to improve. I'm going to start with the pedals here. This is actually the clutch, I believe, but it's very similar to the load cell CRP. I was hoping maybe ambitiously to use this on carpet, but the load cell's quite hard. There is some adjustability here, but it's maybe not as much adjustability as I would like. So the CRPs, I would like if they could be more adjustable for carpet use, sort of like not have the, like having to do the whole like 100 kg load cell stuff, but they are very nicely made. So maybe I'm being too ambitious.
Quality. Yeah. Like you look at it and that actually is quality.
Yeah. Rather than putting it on carpet, they should be put on a rig. In terms of other stuff that I'd like to improve, obviously the access to the front panel there, see I've ripped the sticker.
For me, on this one here, the only, out of all, so what we've got 5 wheels here. I understand this is cheap. I expect it to be cheap. This one here, the only thing I don't like is the casing on this. It just doesn't just doesn't scream.
This comes in about 279, I think.
Yeah, so it just doesn't scream the quality as some of these other wheels, like this one here, the forged carbon. That one with the actual carbon faceplate. This is like a carbon ABS sticker type thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't scream the quality. Everything else screams quality.
Yeah.
Just the faceplate for me.
For me, this one.
This reminds me of your McLaren Fanatec wheel, where it's like the printed carbon.
Yeah, that sort of material. And we've seen with the Thrustmaster 488 how you can have a nicer finish. For me, this one is purely about function.
Yeah.
Like if I was entering a race and my life depended on it for speed, I would choose this one. I'd actually choose it over the FSR. I just feel like when I put it on, I just become at one with the car, and it's got the chamfered grips and everything. But I do agree with you, it's interesting. There's also a bit of a seam at the top. It's partly because I've taken it apart and put it back on maybe, but you can see it's not as, there's no seam here. Yeah. This feels like it's nicer than a Formula 2 wheel in a Formula 2 car. And I would give it to you because you've driven a Ginetta G55.
Yes. And it's a lot more complex than that wheel ever was.
Yeah.
But it does. It feels right. It looks right. You're sitting there looking at it, and it sounds weird because obviously it's sim racing, but you sit there and look at it, and it inspires you with confidence.
I feel like it demands performance of me almost when I'm because it is high quality, and some of it I think is actually a little bit more style over form. So like the Moza KS, I feel like it's like purely about your eyes closed, you're there, you just feel it. Whereas here, these grips look really nice. But I actually prefer these grips.
Yeah, because these are sculpted.
And interesting, when we went to Formula E, we saw it with Pascal Wehrlein, who's just like a racing genius. He uses tennis tapes on his grips there. So the grips are really about, it doesn't matter how they look, you just want it to feel right.
So you'd say you'd race on this over this?
It depends. If I want to race if I'm racing in VR, I'll probably race on that. Yeah. If I'm racing and I can see it, I'll race on this because I got the screen. I can see everything. I can fiddle around. You feel like the real deal. You get into it. You almost like role play a little bit. Like if you're playing the Formula 1 game, you got to use this rim because it's just going to make you feel like a Formula 1 driver. But then we come to something that is appropriately in between these two wheels, which is a brand new. At the time we're recording this is unannounced actually. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird thing to do. But this is the Moza VGS with a gyroscopic display, so when you turn it, the display stays central. And we put this on the rig earlier. We turned it on for the first time, and as soon as it came on the display, something just clicked because it was a circular rev meter tachometer. I was like, oh, that just makes so much sense. It was one of those moments you're like, this needs to be a thing more often. Obviously, we've seen the Fanatec Bentley wheels being concepted for a long time, not out yet. Unusual button shape though, Sam. What do you think? What do you like about this? What do you think Moza to improve on it?
For me, as you've seen probably from other videos of yours, I'm not a massive fan of the really wide Formula rims. For me, this is too wide. This is a mixture between, this is the wide wheel like this, but the screen of that. It's taken kind of the best thing.
That's true actually, yeah.
It's a mixture of both of them.
Yeah.
The buttons just all screen quality. The blue anodized is in the right position.
The forged carbon as well.
The forged carbon. It just screams really good quality everything.
Yeah, we don't know what the price point is going to be actually, but I don't know if it's going to come in more than the FSR or not. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see.
So you would prefer the gyroscopic screen over
the circular screen? Well, if you're doing Formula 1, this is going to give you more of a Formula 1 experience. Yeah. This doesn't look like a wheel that I've ever seen. Ergonomically, it's a bit different, but having a circular gyroscopic display opens up possibilities. And again, if you actually want to see, like I've done in Gran Turismo, when you're racing at a high level in Gran Turismo and you're racing and the whole split's like that close, and you just want to make sure you're in the right gear coming out, because if you're in a gear too high, that's going to destroy your race in one corner. You're going to look down here with a massive gear number that's going to be there, and you're going to see it when your hand's going to be over covering the gear in
right bang in the middle of your face.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting wheel. I want to see more of that display in wheels, like when they've got space for it. In the KS rim, I'd give away the encoders there, because on that encoder in the middle, I don't really like taking my hands off the wheel anyway, and that's not based on the existing wheel. So I'd like to see if this works, and they've got the software for it. They can do it and manufacture it smaller. I'd definitely like to see that work its way into more wheels. Yeah. Very interesting.
So what else would you take off what would you like to see more or less of on your entry wheel?
I would like to see, I know they do, so you can buy the Moza CS, again, for about £120, check my link in description for a potential discount, and you can then mod it with GT3 mods and bigger mods. I'd like to see them just offer that, like, because some people are just going to want to buy it in the GT format. So they could just pre-fab that and sell it like that for the same price. Yeah. And if people want to go circular, they can buy the add-on. So more of an ecosystem there, I think, could be huge, because the quick release, I don't know how much the quick release is worth, but if you're buying a quick release on Fanatec, you're almost paying as much as the wheel, yeah, like with the quick release. So it's a potentially a great deal there. So I'd like to see that at the low end. I think that could be really transformative. We've really liked the Moza R3 as a little tiny force feedback base, and that could be quite a killer opportunity, because that Moza CS also comes in the Xbox variant as well.
So just to go back on what you said, I don't know of any other brand where it's so easy to change the wheel, keep the same unit and actually change the whole framework for it.
Yeah, I don't
think there's one, and I think that is absolute genius there. Whoever's come up with that idea needs a pay rise.
Very different to the KS. That was very difficult for me to take off, and there's a video on it where I show you how to do it. And there's always comments, people saying, thank you so much for making the video, because I had no idea. So I'm very glad I've done it. But yeah, this is a very different, and it's entry level, which I love. Like, that's 279, this is about 129. So that one you're expected to know a little bit more about it. But this, if you wanted to change it for your kids, or maybe your kids are using the circular one, but when you want to race, you want to do GT, it takes you, what, a couple of minutes.
You've got the small wheel for the kids, or you can put the bigger wheel on for you.
Yeah.
I just generally, when you showed me that, generally I thought, that's genius.
And also, potentially, I don't want to get in trouble here, but you know, this is not a sponsored video per se. We're not being paid by this. Moza haven't seen this before we release it. Aftermarket stuff, people 3D printing and stuff like that, because they've designed it with that in mind, people can 3D print a truck rim, or they can 3D print a F1 style rim, because that essentially becomes a sort of button box.
I mean, realistically, all you're looking at is a sheet of steel.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be 3D printed. Someone with a laser cutter could sit at home and make their own one. I
would like to see Moza improve their pedals throughout. I mean, the CRPs, we're yet to really try them in anger on the rig. We've been trying to use them on kind of mounted on plates and stuff like that. But the SRPs and the SRP lights, I think now are a little bit industrial looking, and actually quite different from this, sort of sharp edges and everything.
I mean, we both use the Fanatec V3s on our rigs with the rumble motors. Would you like Moza to incorporate that?
I mean, I like the rumble motor. I wonder if the technology has moved on almost to the active pedals and the force feedback. So it'll be interesting to see if Moza really go for that. They'll be very high-end pedals, but obviously the philosophy at Moza just seems to be, I don't know how it works. I've never interviewed anyone at Moza like I interviewed the CEO at Fanatec, but I really want to, because I want to understand what's the driving force here. Who says, yeah, we're going to do a truck wheel? Who says, yeah, we're going to do this? Like, where's that inventive spirit come from? I think in the past people have looked at Moza stuff and think, oh, it looked quite similar to the Fanatec stuff, like the wheel, like the direct drive bases. But you can't look at, well, this, people will say the Bentley's also got a similar wheel, but stuff like the truck wheel, like the FSR, Fanatec doesn't have a screen. So somewhere there's some inventive ideas going on that I'd like to know about. I mean, I'm just excited for the next year of Moza to see what they bring out, because you just never know what they're going to do next. They're going into flight sim now with force feedback flight joysticks. They've seen that as well. They just seem to be going everywhere. So I'd like to see more stuff. Maybe a karting dedicated wheel might be quite cool.
I mean, there are more and more kart games coming out. There's companies making kart specific sim rigs. So like you said, the kart wheel will be interesting to see.
I can see them doing something crazy. I mean, they wouldn't do something like Mario Kart, because that's on Nintendo, not on PC, but something like a sort of arcade sort of type experience with like rumble motors in the wheel or something like that. I could see them do something where they've got an RPM thing that's all around or something. They just seem to come up with stuff that's kind of cool and interesting. So, and
then you look at it and think, that's really smart. Why didn't they do that? Why haven't everyone else done that?
And the Moza software generally works quite well. I have had issues with the VGS, with getting the display to always work, but this is like a pre-production model, so that's why I've got it, is to flag to them when stuff isn't working. But the actual Moza pit-out software itself is quite a nice experience. It's more modern than Thrustmaster, more modern than Fanatec, Logitech might have better software with the G Hub, but generally better software in sim racing is going to be better as we have more and more up-to-date displays. I'm just seeing here from this angle just how many buttons there are. on the FSR. You're not going to be short of buttons if you like mapping buttons. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, what you want to see from Moza. What do you like? What do you don't like? Hopefully they're going to see this video and they'll see your feedback. And if you do want to buy anything, there will be links in the description to these products. Go check them out. If you decide to use them, I should get a commission, which obviously helps me out. But yeah, this is Moza. Let's see what they're going to bring upcoming in sim racing.